Hello, I'm Laura Painter. Here at ABC10, we stand for you. That means giving you context, depth, and advice to help you and your loved ones navigate this changing world. Here's a collection of stories the team has been working on. All eyes are currently on the race for the White House. With President Biden dropping out of the race, Vice President Kamala Harris seems to have enough delegates to be the Democrat Party's nominee. California has nearly 500 delegates going to the Democratic National Convention next month. ABC 10's Becca Habiger talked with a delegate, as well as a biographer who wrote a book on Harris. She explains what they think Harris's chances are and what she can bring to the race.
I met her when she was Attorney General, and I was a prosecutor earlier in my career, and I admired her tenacity and her ability to get things done.
Alan Gerasi is excited about the prospect of Kamala Harris as president. He'll support her as a California delegate for the Democratic National Convention.
I immediately sent my personal endorsement to the committee chairperson, and I think within a couple of hours, we had a supermajority of delegates in California ready to stand behind Kamala.
After President Biden announced Sunday he would no longer seek re-election and endorsed Harris to take his place, Harris set a new presidential donation record, $81 million in 24 hours.
I'm very excited about all the fundraising that happened yesterday, and that to me was the exclamation point that she's the right person.
She should not be underestimated. Don't count her out, but she is the underdog.
Dan Moraine is a veteran California journalist and the author of Harris's biography, Kamala's Way, An American Life.
This is such a California story.
He writes about Harris's father, who immigrated to the U.S. from Jamaica, and her mother, who emigrated from southern India. Harris went to UC Hastings College of Law, became a prosecutor, and eventually state attorney general, U.S. Senator for California, and vice president.
When she ran for U.S. Senate, she was a very good candidate. Cleared the field. That's not easy to do in California.
There's going to be energy, and she's younger and all these things, but I don't know if we can say this is exactly the path to winning the presidency yet.
Democratic consultant Andrew Acosta has been involved in California politics over the course of more than 30 years. He has seen Harris's wins and losses, including her failed presidential bid back in 2019.
I took my daughter to her rally in Oakland when she launched her presidential campaign. That was probably the highlight of the campaign. 20,000 people there, and then after that, it kind of, sort of imploded.
As for what comes next, he says there's still a lot of polling to be done and questions to be answered.
Look, I'm 55, and the last time a president, stepped out I was 5 years old. It was Nixon, right? So I don't think anybody can say this is what we're going to do because this is what we did last time, because I don't think anyone's been through this before. We're definitely in uncharted territory.
Harris's biographer, Dan Moraine, also points out Harris joined the prestigious Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority for African American women during her undergrad years at Howard University, a historically black research university. With that, he says, comes a strong network of influential black women across the country who have mobilized for her on previous campaigns and are doing so again now.
Hello, I'm Andy Judson. After we started investigating SeaQuest, nearly 20 more former SeaQuest employees came forward, providing documents and graphic photos as evidence of the poor treatment and care of the animals. They say they're coming forward now to speak for them. Here's part 2 of my investigation, and we do want to warn you that some of the images may be difficult to watch.
As a kid, I've always had a strange love for the unloved. Do you want this Boogie Boo?
Whether they have scales,
I also call him my cookie bear.
gills, or fur, pets in Elle's home are treated like royalty. But Elle also has pictures of other animals she loves, and they tell a much different story.
That is a molded parakeet body. There was a huge pile of cockroach poop behind the door. She wasn't eating. They still had guests see her like this.
These animals live inside a shopping mall at SeaQuest. To the public, SeaQuest is an interactive aquarium and zoo. But to Elle and others who worked there,
It's directly animal exploitation that SeaQuest is profiting from.
Elle not only shared photos, but also provided us with dozens of internal documents. By doing so, she put herself in a vulnerable position, which is why she asked us to protect her identity.
Do you still think about the animals? Is that why you're talking today?
I think about them every day. It's something that every SeaQuest worker goes through. We've all cried together. We've all wanted better for the animals. I hope everybody comes together and becomes the voice for them.
They did. After our first investigation aired, employee after employee came forward with even more to share.
Raise your hand if you saw an animal die at SeaQuest.
There's probably well over 1,000 animals and fish that have died since the opening of SeaQuest Folsom.
1,000 animals in 6 years, Elle estimates, but the true number is unknown.
SeaQuest, as far as I know, never had documents.
SeaQuest told ABC News they have official documentation for mortalities on site, but they did not give us the exact number of animals that have died at their Folsom location when asked.
A lot of stuff would get either overlooked or seen too late.
Like how they believe the facility was unsafe.
I measured the temperature peak summer of 22 and it was 108.
A lot of the paint is coming up through the dirt.
She was very well known for loving to chew on the paint.
That's not all. Small enclosures, tank leaks, open electrical sockets in enclosures, and cleanliness issues.
I believe with SeaQuest, all of it stems from the interactive aspect, which is what sets up failure.
Folsom team, hey, I don't.
CEO Vince Cavino pushes to make more money upselling customers on what's called interactions, as seen in this video he made for the Folsom team.
It's just that simple. It's just engaging, talking to the guests, showing them the animals.
This corporation is run by business people, not animal experts.
Interactions are premium experiences where guests can pay to touch and feed an animal. Staffers say the company directed all their attention to interactions, leaving no time for basic animal care.
It was hard to find that opening to clean an animal's enclosure.
90% of the time, they weren't getting fed because there was not enough time or enough staff to do it.
I just want to show you something. This is from yesterday. I know because I made it. She's supposed to eat all of this. Not to mention, this is from yesterday. Tortoise's supposed to eat all of this. This is from yesterday. Our iguanas are supposed to eat all of this. Our baby torts are supposed to eat all of this. And our sloths only got about half of their diet.
It wasn't just a time conflict. Some workers told us management gave clear marching orders.
You're not allowed to feed any of the animals anymore. It strictly needs to be just what people are paying for. They're being partially starved.
We went through a period in time where the sharks started to try to eat the stingrays.
This fish was bit in half by a shark that was hungry, internal messages show. When asked about withholding food for paying customers only, SeaQuest did not respond.
We would get a write-up if we personally were feeding one of the animals without a guest in there interacting with them.
Another issue was having no quarantine system when SeaQuest opened, they say.
Which is a big no-no for any aquarium.
Animals should always be kept for a period of time quarantined before being introduced to a new tank or enclosure. Other animals and SeaQuest customers, employees explained. This is to ensure they adjust and have all parasites die off.
Because they wouldn't bother with quarantining them, you would then infest an entire tank. But then children and parents are sticking their hands in that tank, and then they're taking their contaminated hand to another tank, and the next thing you know, the whole aquarium has parasites.
And a video shows it. You can see parasites inside the dead frog.
How many hours, days, and weeks it took us just to get the pitiful excuse of a quarantine system that we had.
5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
We went to management and we said, go lock yourself in a bathroom that's about 2 by 2, and that's what you're putting the sharks in.
Here's footage of how animals are kept in SeaQuest Folsom's back rooms. In cages, much too small for them, employees say. As for quarantined fish,
most of them never went back to their habitats. They ended up dying in the quarantine.
Because they were so small?
Yeah.
when animals got sick,
rather than taking this animal to the vet, they had us do in-house treatment by sending us a YouTube video.
Internal messages show team members figuring out how to treat birds for bumblefoot, a common bacterial infection, from a Wikipedia article.
Because if a person had to go take this animal to the vet, they're losing a team member on the floor to do other SeaQuest things such as cell interactions and do interactions.
If they did go to a vet, it was often too late. Some dead animals were left to rot, like these molded parakeet bodies. An employee complaint to the U.S. Department of Agriculture said animals in the mortality fridge, where their dead bodies are kept, had been there for 6 months and were next to living animals. And ABC10 obtained footage of SeaQuest's mortality fridge, the fridge filled to the brim. SeaQuest did not answer any of our questions about this.
We're not supposed to tell anyone that anything died. If something is deceased in a tank, pretend it's alive. And then we'll just go get a new one, kind of thing.
We are putting in a big order of animals.
Vince's thing was more.
More animals, more interactions, more money.
SeaQuest easily saw 500 people a day, up to 1,000 people a day.
SeaQuest told ABC News interactions are a superb source of enrichment for our animals, but it's not enriching, employees say. It's harmful.
The animals are getting stressed because that room is literally filled to the brim with people.
By law, animals must have breaks from interactions. SeaQuest previously told ABC News they give animals break time equal to the time they spend doing interactions. Employees say that's not true.
You just write them down like you did them. They would just have me do them back to back to back to back to back.
When animals get stressed, like humans, they lash out. ABC10 obtained multiple incident reports of guests and employees being bitten and scratched. But if an animal hurts someone, SeaQuest has a rule, Elle says. After 3 incidents, the animal is euthanized.
So that's why a lot of bites go undocumented by employees.
It's one of many ways SeaQuest employees try to protect animals. Employees have reported issues to the agency regulating SeaQuest, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, multiple times, records show. Most issues were deemed unsubstantiated, allowing SeaQuest to stay the same.
So it's up to us. We need our voices heard.
We have to all be the voice for these animals more than anything, because SeaQuest needs to be shut down.
We reached out to SeaQuest multiple times for an interview and sent them over a dozen of our questions. They did not respond to any of our questions, but instead they referred us to the frequently asked questions section of their website, which did not address any of the allegations or inquiries brought forward in this story. Now, SeaQuest Folsom has responded to customers on Google reviews, telling them there's been, quote, a spread of misinformation and to not believe everything you hear on the news. So we asked SeaQuest why they're telling this to customers. They, again, never responded. For part 1 and to read more on my investigation, head over to abc10.com.
Don't forget, 10 on Your Side is here to help you find solutions to issues that seem impossible to solve. Take a look.
I would like to submit an issue to 10 on Your Side.
A viewer called 10 on Your Side after a major headache buying a new phone at Best Buy. We stopped by the store and he walked away with a full refund.
Well, I appreciate the heck out of you guys doing that. I don't think I would have had much luck without you getting involved.
We also helped viewer Greg Logatetta with an $800 PG&E billing error. We called PG&E and not only was he cleared of having to pay the $857.91, he ended up with a credit and no payment due.
Oh, I think you guys did a great job. I had not heard until you had spoken to them from them. And I never thought I would.
And I just broke down going, you're the first person that ever called me back.
Each week, 10 on Your Side helps viewers across the region, including a recent DMV customer who says he spent months fighting with the DMV for a refund worth hundreds of dollars. 10 on Your Side made one phone call and 24 hours later, we got results.
Yes, they reached out to me, I guess the day after you had talked to them. Yeah, they were really, helping out once you talked to them. You must have some power.
And we are just getting started. ABC 10 is here to help. If you have a problem and just don't know where else to turn, email me at onyourside@abc10.com.
Meanwhile, in dollars and cents, I answer your money questions and help you navigate a changing economy. Improving your finances doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, some of the best advice can fit on a little index card. I recently talked with a financial advisor about 9 simple money rules that can go a long way in helping you build your financial strength.
We all have bills to pay. We're all working on a budget on a weekly, monthly basis, but you have to pay yourself first.
One way to do that is to follow 9 money rules. I wish I could say I came up with this idea, but the credit goes to Harold Pollack, a University of Chicago social scientist. He says all the investment advice you'll ever need fits on a single index card. Most of the rules fall into 2 buckets, saving and investing. The rules are: maximize your 401k, buy inexpensive mutual funds, never buy or sell an individual security, save 20% of your money, pay your credit card balance in full each month, maximize tax advantage savings vehicles, and pay attention to fees. Rules 8 and 9 are more philosophical. Make financial advisors commit to a fiduciary standard and promote social insurance programs. The first one is maxing your 401k. That seems pretty easy. Can you explain that for our viewers?
Oftentimes, these companies will do matching contributions to whatever you put into your 401k. We eloquently call that free money, because that's exactly what it is. And if you don't participate in a 401k plan, oftentimes you're not eligible to receive those matching contributions.
Staying on the idea of saving, remember numbers 4 and 6. Save 20% of your money, and also set up other kinds of savings accounts that grow tax-free, like Roth IRAs and 529 college savings accounts.
Or the higher percentage that you save, the more quickly your net worth is going to grow.
Saving your money is great, but you'll also want to invest it too. Those are numbers 2 and 3. Sacramento-based financial planner Joseph Eshelman recommends being diverse, spreading your investments in different areas, including inexpensive mutual funds. Rule number 3 means you could better position yourself for consistent and reliable financial growth if you utilize the expertise of professional investors. This is a great one too. We hear, and we've talked about it before, paying your credit card balance in full. Tell me more about that. Why is that so important for a lot of viewers and consumers out there?
And anytime you carry a balance on your credit card, you're paying interest to the credit card company. If you're paying it off every month, you're not paying interest. Obviously, hopefully that means more money in your pocket to build and save and grow your net worth.
You can also grow your wealth by paying attention to fees. That's Rule 7. When you invest, high fees can cut into your gains. Fees are hard to avoid totally, but experts say prioritizing low-fee investments is a smart thing to do for long-term financial success. For more money advice, head over to our website, abc10.com/dollars-and-cents. If you're looking for something affordable and fun for the family or a group of friends, buckle up, because we're hitting the back roads with ABC 10's John Bartel. This time, we're headed to a fortress built on the Sonoma coast.
It was here in 1812 on this quiet coastal bluff in Sonoma County that Native American tribes watched as land-grabbing explorers built a mighty fortress equipped with cannons.
Both the Russians and the Spanish were at the ends of their empire, and the Spanish actually considered this their territory.
The wooden fortress became known as Fort Ross. Today, it's a state park, but in the early 1800s, it was a Russian settlement, and the Russians saw it as a boundary line between them and the encroaching Spanish Empire. The land in this region has 2 valuable resources: fertile land and fur.
The sea otter was the most valuable. One pelt was worth up to $100 back then. That was like a year's salary for a farmer.
Interpreter Hank Birnbaum says the Russian fur trade was big business, and Alaska was one of their primary hunting grounds. But due to the difficulty of growing food and getting supplies in the area, they expanded their territory to Northern California, and they didn't go alone.
And I'd like to give special attention to the Alaskans. Often there were more Alaskans here, Alaska natives, than there were Russians.
While in Alaska, the Russians enslaved indigenous Alaskan hunters and brought them here to Fort Ross.
This wouldn't have been successful this whole adventure if it wasn't for the Alaskan natives. You can imagine them in their kamlaika. This would be made out of sea lion guts.
The Alaskan hunters weren't the only natives living at Fort Ross. Shortly after their arrival, the Russians came to an agreement with the local Kashaya tribe to live on their land and employ the Kashaya as laborers.
It's a very diverse community.
Absolutely, yeah. And then here, there was a lot of intermarriage with the Kashaya and Coast Miwok.
In all, a few hundred people lived in or around the fort. Along with hunting, the people here built large ships. They built homes, and although there was never a permanent priest, Russian Orthodox Christians built an ornate wooden chapel with enchanting acoustics.
Gospodи pomili, Gospodi pomili, Gospodi pomili. Hear how it fills the room, yes? And the cupola was designed, they say, to help send the prayers or the songs to heaven.
Even though the Spanish and Russian empires were in a race to claim California, there was never actually an attack or an attempt to breach the giant walls of Fort Ross.
You know, in terms of the Spanish and Russians, they need each other more than they need to fight each other.
Instead of fighting, the Spanish, the Russians, and the Native Americans found it easier to trade goods and services with each other. And this coexistence lasted for around 30 years, until there was no more otters to hunt for fur.
Sadly, now the otters are gone. Hopefully, if we give Mother Nature a hand, maybe the otters could come back and it would help stabilize the ecology here.
Fort Ross was never forgotten. After Russian fur hunters left, settlers moved into California during the gold rush. Today, though, State Parks uses Fort Ross to teach lessons from the past and educate people about future preservation.
That dual purposes, right? Both of enjoy, recreate, so forth, but also to learn from and to bring balance and health.
From Fort Ross State Historic Park, I'm John Bartell. Hope to see you on the Backroads.
You can find all of John's stories at abc10.com/backroads. We can also send a map straight to your phone to help you plan your next road trip adventure. Just text Backroads to 916-321-3310. All these exciting places are also on the ABC10 Plus app under the Shows tab. And remember, we have more features just like this one on the ABC10 Plus app. That's where you can also find the latest newscasts and headlines and stay up to date on weather conditions. Thanks again for watching. I'm Laura Painter. Take care and see you next time.
If you have a problem, 10 on Your Side is here to help.
You're the first person that ever called me back. Out of anyone in 17 years, he's the first person who's ever stood there and actually did something for me.
Had I not gotten you involved, I may still be arguing with PG&E over an $857 bill.
It was, you know, we just are so grateful for what you guys have done.
Watch 10 on Your Side weeknights at 6, only on ABC 10.